Yo, what's going on, everybody? Can you guys hear me okay?
I can.
Nice. Thank you, sir. All right, guys. So I know that you have all been enamored with Jamie, do you mind if I record this or no?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
All right, cool. Because I'll get 1,000 questions of people asking me to record it tomorrow. All right, I just have to share the screen in order to do so. So I'll just put up True Trader and share that shit. All right, and then let me hit record. All right, perfect. Guys, you're in for a treat tonight, all right? So, guys, I know a ton of you have been asking about, just send this out. So I know a ton of you have been asking about GME, AMC. You guys see WallStreetBets in the news. You know, everyone had a million questions today, yesterday, left, right, and center about it. And I told you guys in chat earlier today that a buddy of mine may just so happen to be one of the original, the original founder of WallStreetBets itself. All right. So, guys, can everyone hear me okay still?
I can.
All right. So, guys, without further ado, I brought on my friend Jaime Rogozinski, and goes by the name of Jartek as well. And I wanted to bring him on here and basically give you his feedback on, what's going on. And guys, he's been doing press Jaime, what have you been doing today press wise?
Dude, I've as I talk, they end up changing. So I've done CNN, CNBC, CBS, TMZ. I decided to take them on just to warm up because I hadn't done much TV in the past. So I went and started off with them to warm up. I have honestly lost track. You throw in some of these podcasts, some that I hadn't heard of, some that I'm booked for tomorrow. I'm doing Logan Paul tomorrow. I forget what all these other things. But I have been, immersed in this and talking about it quite a bit. But I suppose that puts me in a good position because I thought through some of my points a little bit better as the days progress. But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be with Adam. Not that long, but it's been a while since.
Not that long.
So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So I'm gonna make it quick, guys, because he is exhausted. Okay. So, dude, give me. One of the things that I try and tell them in here is that a lot of times, with the social sentiment and how crazy everything has been, it's been awesome to see, and it's been a great trade. But I guess give me a little bit of your perspective about what exactly is happening and how something like this could happen.
This is a fascinating thing. Obviously, I have, when I'm looking at this story that's still playing out, I take two perspectives, kind of a neutral perspective, which is much more of an academic approach, which is just fascinated by this entire thing, and then obviously a personal side. I obviously personally attached to this thing as it playing out. So I'll kind of walk you through the different thought process. The first one is, this is just fascinating, right? You have a group of people that have managed, that have taken this chaotic, orderless, break the rules approach to stuff, somehow managed to get all in sync at one point and are able to have a sizable effect on several companies within the stock market. And they've gotten the attention of, and I think have frightened a lot of these big names, these guys that have been around forever. They've knocked out at least one fund, as far as, I haven't actually read the full note, but it's what I keep hearing throughout the day. So pretty sure Melvin got knocked out. It's just fascinating, right? Like, you think of these little guys that are using their cell phones to trade these commission-free whatever stock options or stocks, and for them to take out a 2 point something billion. I saw some other headline that total money that had been not wiped out, but how much money people are on the hook for, all the short sellers combined, was upwards of $90 billion. That's a big number. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but still, I wouldn't be surprised if it's close to that because of how high the stocks have gone up. So just fascinating to watch. I joke a lot about it on Twitter, and I said this is they're pulling off what Occupy Wall Street set to pull off and never did it successfully. What they did with their pickets doesn't hurt nearly as bad as hitting their pockets. So it's really interesting. On the other hand, people are like, so what is this movement? Viva la Revolution. I don't know what this movement is. I don't know what the end game is. It's not like these people are pissed off at Wall Street. They're making tons of money from it. So I think they kind of bumped into a movement. They've all always had the same goal, which is to make money. So here they are making money, and all of a sudden they're calling these guys like, the Main Streeters that took on the Wall Streeters. So the David and Goliath, I think is what CNN called it. So it's interesting. From a personal standpoint, well, obviously I'm attached to this thing. I created WallStreetBets. I was a mod with them for the entire first 8 years of it. Until April of last year. So I'm getting to watch this as a spectator. I certainly don't envy anybody's position as this thing is playing out, because it's a sticky situation. I tweeted that out too. There's the White House press secretary fielded a question about that this morning during the daily brief. So here you have President Biden responding to this story. Not sure I ever wanted to be in that particular spotlight, at least not on the hook for anything. Don't envy the SEC. Obviously, this is a really interesting situation. I've heard tons of great arguments on both sides as to whether this is right or wrong. And I think only time will tell as to what ends up playing out. But even the way this thing is playing out, even if what's happened so far is not against the rules, once you get the government involved in Congress, they get to make the rules. And so, we can't be sure that they're not going to change. So all in all, it's super, super interesting, super fascinating. WallStreetBets has been in the news for pulling all sorts of stunts. They're famous for the infinite margin or free money cheat code or whatever. And before that, there's been a bunch of other great high profile stunts, but this one takes the cake.
Yeah. So, So a couple people in chat are saying look, about the, I guess a year ago, or whatever, when was it a year that whole falling out happened with WallStreetBets?
Oh, so I haven't been looking at the question. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm not not hiding behind anything. So what happened there with WallStreetBets? There's two sides of things. So what are the actual facts that happened? One day, a moderator on WallStreetBets, and the next day I get a message from Reddit saying that I violated their terms. They didn't specify which terms, and that was the end of that. Literally, as far as what factual events that have taken place, that Reddit never answered any of my questions. I reached out to them several different ways, and I think their policy is simply to just having made their decision. So I'm left to wonder, what it was that took place behind there. What are the things that were revolving around there? Shortly before they kicked me off, I had announced, I saw this tendency where there's a huge demographic of people that are using Wall Street like a casino, like a video game. So I actually rented the biggest esports, esports stadium in the US. It was in Arlington, Texas. And the idea was, well, since everyone's treating like a video game, might as well put a camera on it and actually turn it into one. Esports is obviously a big thing, and it's a natural click. So I organized that, and I had the whole thing funded and contracts signed with all sorts of different things. And the idea was you have these, contestants get up there, 12 of them trade live with real money on the real stock market with their own money. They get to keep whatever they make or lose. It was going to be more of everyone being able to watch these guys live. part of the other thing is I've been in this trading world for 10, 15 years, and I've yet to see people actually sit down in front of the computer and actually look at them throughout the entire day and watching them make money. So that's a personal goal I had. Anyhow, that was the idea that I had behind it, and there was some more politics that if you guys really want, I can get into it, but it really is going to bore you.
No. I think
some of the mods the wrong way. No, I think the wrong way. They decided to accuse me for monetizing the sum, which I guess they're within their right to do so. I have my arguments as to why that wasn't the case, and unfortunately, I never had a chance to say those arguments. But nevertheless, here we are.
Yeah, and I think the point here is not so much like right now. I think bringing Jamie in here to just like give his opinion on everything that's going on is important, because this is somebody that was in the trenches, that started it. Whether being removed from it because the thing took a life of its own, and that's what happened, doesn't mean that the insight is any less. So that's all I gotta say about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, so, like I get it. Like it's a situation. Like I still know that I know the world in and out. There's a reason why. Tomorrow I'm also going to be featured on Forbes and Wall Street Journal, and Wall Street Journal doesn't screw around. Like they're probably the highest standard of it. They're not into this drama stuff, and I think there's a reason why I'm more intriguing for their story. They even send a photographer to my house, and I live in Mexico. Keep in mind, so I think that whatever took place last year, it's what took place. Like I've honestly moved on with it, and as I'm watching this thing fold out, like I'm honestly happy that I'm watching.
I think you're relieved as all hell that you're no longer involved there.
Yeah. Yeah. So nevertheless, but it's still, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. What do you think? Like, for example, like, what do you think the biggest concern here should be for retail that are looking at this? Because obviously there's two sides to it, right? You have the people that are, anti-establishment, that are like, hey, trying to make a statement like, fuck the hedge funds, fuck big Wall Street. This is, this is where we're at, and it's just, what do you think? But like after all that's said and done, what do you say to the people that are holding GME for a while? And then I see the same question: what do you believe the biggest risks, regulatory or legal wise, for WallStreetBets are coming out of this situation, in your opinion? Although you're not an attorney, obviously.
All right, so I'll work my way backwards. Hopefully, I won't forget them. So, what does fuck the establishment mean? Like, what is that? I understand what it meant in 2010. No, I get it. It's hypothetical. Like, I understand what it meant in 2010, because in 2010 people were pissed since they all lost their house. So that's why they're picketing outside. Like what? What? But nowadays everyone's happy. The stock market's doing great, even if the economy's doing something else, like, and these people that are the people and the individuals that are probably like, what, they've just been screwing around with the market, making money, having fun. Like, I don't know. I think that we stumbled into this movement without it actually having been there. I mean, my educated guess is people on WallStreetBets and elsewhere look at the market. They say, I want to make some money. I'm just going to take a shot in the dark here. And I'm going to guess everyone that's here also wants to make some money, right? Like, that's why everyone's around. They all sit around. They start trying to make some bets. And next thing you know, they're knocking over hedge funds. And now it's like a movement. Hold your fist up in the air. And like, that's right. We win. It's like, I was never in competition. Did you make money? Yeah, I did. All right, cool. I'm a good one. This movement was never an intentional. That would be giving WallStreetBets way too much credit for them to organize that many people in such a chaotic manner to say who wants to knock out a hedge fund. Like that's not what happened. And so what is this movement? It's funny every time I hear it. What's the end game? You want to kill all the hedge funds? Great. Like that's like playing poker, right? And then you you literally shoot in the head at all the other players, and now you're sitting by yourself at the table with the poker. Like, who are you going to trade with? I don't know. So if there is a movement, I don't really know about it. I can understand that the sense of pride of saying, "Hey, the little guys beat the big guys." I get it, right? Like, I can understand why that feels good, and hey, it does feel good. I get it. To that same extent, they knocked out a fund, and they probably put a few other ones in trouble. But those guys have been around for a bit longer than any of us have. My guess is they're not as hurt as we'd like to think that they are. It's pure speculation, but those guys know how to buy calls too, even if they're short. Like, they're not dummies. So my guess is that they're not losing in this bargain. And then there's other players that are definitely not losing in this bargain. Take Citadel, who's the company that's taken all the order flow from Robinhood. They make money pretty much every time someone makes a trade. They're in the best possible position ever, and they are as establishment as they get. Every time a kid makes a trade, they get money for it, and so as these kids are making trades and knocking out a hedge fund, Citadel turns around and says, "Yeah, I'll go ahead and bail you out. I happen to have a lot of extra money that I just made from you. I don't know what, but this is like a hostile takeover like we've never seen before." So the establishment is quite there. They're not going to go anywhere, but it's fun to know that there's an additional player at this poker table. There's a huge number of people that are participating, and kind of moving towards the second part of your question. What are these regulatory implications? I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. I've been following some of these arguments, and I have an opinion. First off, I don't envy the SEC or FINRA. They're in an impossible situation. I also don't envy any of the moderators on WallStreetBets. I also know that I'd rather get caught dead than to have traded any of these stocks in the past 2 weeks. That would certainly concern me, because that changes the types of questions that can be made. And I don't envy Reddit's position either as a supposedly neutral platform. We saw today that the Discord people knocked them offline under the guise of hateful speech. Maybe that's true, maybe it isn't, but one thing's for certain: Discord most definitely must have been worried about all this activity and watching the White House press release talking about these things. So, the technology platforms that are hosting these conversations are also worried. Very interesting situation. What is my guess? Look, they have to prove, from my understanding, one of a couple of things. On the disclosure standpoint, they can go after them for not disclosing. If you have a person that's on Reddit that's being paid to pump a stock, pumping stocks, I'm using terms loosely, is not illegal as long as you tell people, "Hey, I'm being paid to pump a stock." So if there are people that are on Reddit that are behind some of these moves and they haven't disclosed it, boom, they can kind of get a little bit of that, which is almost like a technicality. They can get them also, I've heard, on a different one, which is another disclosure notice, which is if an institution buys more than 5% of the stock, they have to announce it, or they have to disclose it. Or an organization, in this particular case, they would have to prove that millions of individuals that are doing their own thing are somehow acting as one. So that probably won't go anywhere. Once again, I don't know, but my guess is it won't. And then you're on the other side, which is like the pump and dump and the fraud. Fraud involves lying. I don't think there's been any of that. I'm sure because of so many comments, you'll find one or two little guys in there, but for the most part, they're all cheering each other on, saying, "Hey, buy this stock because it's going up." That's fine. Freedom of speech, all that. And then you have the other one, which is the pump and dump, which there's the word pump and dump sounds like something, but the actual law behind it, the mechanics behind it, is something else. Like, you need to, in order to activate that particular regulation, you need to offload stocks that you own, into the hands of unwitting investors, and you have to knowingly give them your stocks, knowing that they're overvalued, and whether or not you even played a part in pumping the stock up. So, it makes sense. It's like, hey, I have a lot of these stocks. I'm going to get rid of them. I'm going to go ahead and pump these up, and then I'll sell them, and then I'll just walk away. That's a pump and dump. Like it doesn't quite fit that narrative either, because these guys, they're not even trading stocks. Like they can't unload anything. They're buying these options that expire in days or hours. So and they're not even selling. They're just keep pushing the price up. Like there's no bag holder here. And it was like, well, at some point it's going to go back down. Well, yeah. And when they go back down, they're going to start buying puts. Guess what? They're going to make money on both directions. Like they're missing the point. So so that's one side of things. They're not going to get in trouble side. On the other side, well, the SEC has a job to make sure that the market's functioning properly. What we're seeing the past few days is not proper functioning of the markets. I don't care who you are, right? Like, oh, but it's free speech. Yeah, it's free speech, but that stuff, these charts are not normal, and that's hurting the whole system, right? And their job is to protect the integrity, of what is the pinnacle of American capitalism. So. They may not have the tools to deal with this now. They may not have the resources, because also the investigation's got to be really difficult. But maybe they get creative with it, and that's why I was mentioning earlier. So who knows if there's incentives there that are potentially of conflict. But anyone that's on the decision-making side of the mod, of the forum, who knows? I know that when I was a mod, I did actively stop this with lumber liquidators. This happened a year ago. And I put a hard stop to it. And then I brought in a guy, his name was Joey RB, to dissect. This guy works in Wall Street. He's really knowledgeable. I said, dude, dissect this thing, figure out how to prevent it, because I don't know if it's legal or not, but I don't want to find out the wrong way. I don't want to flip a coin. I don't want to bring this type of attention. And so we successfully stopped a shit ton of similar attempts that were just sketchy. They were using these accounts that were shell accounts that were purchased with no history, but had like 6 years of zombie use, and they were pumping these companies that we've never heard of. They had the same characteristics, really high short float, really low or smaller or mid-sized market cap, etc. Like there's certain characteristics. So never made it to the light of day. We also stopped all sorts of insider trading stuff, and people never find out about that because they never find out about it. That's the job of a moderator. I was never willing to flip that coin to find out, and I can't say the same about the current mods, but it's at the risk of WallStreetBets. My feelings aside, like they're flipping this coin, and we'll see what ends up happening. They're at somebody else's discretion, and it's much more powerful than just waiving First Amendment rights. The moment that you have Janet Yellen, the ex-chairman of the Fed / new Secretary of Treasury, looking into this thing, like I don't think anybody appreciates what the gravity of that means, and we'll see how things play out. On one hand, maybe things will just die off. That's a possibility, and maybe they won't. So we'll have to see.
Nice. All right, so, bro, what would you say to somebody that's still holding GME or AMC or any of these things, or what would you say to them if they're looking? And we'll wrap with this because it's late and I want to let you go. But what would you say to say to them if they're like, oh well, should I get into it tomorrow? Should I keep holding it? Like, what would you suggest that they do?
All right. Well, I don't give advice. Blah blah. Second of all,
not exactly.
Yeah,
look at your face.
I know.
You know what I mean.
I had to throw that in. I do.
Right,
I haven't looked, and I swear to God, I looked at this chart this morning of GME before the market opened, and I saw that it hit like 350 overnight. And I swear when I tell you this, I have not seen the price today, so I don't know what's taken place. I'm guessing that it went up. I'm guessing that the other one you just mentioned went up as well. I'm guessing some of these other ones went up. Nothing, regardless of what experience I have, and I can probably safely say this, anybody that's been around the block a few times, nobody can tell you what to do with this thing with any sort of confidence. This thing has never happened, period. We know what bubbles are, we know what short squeezes are, we know what all sorts of different tiny factors of it, but we don't know what our internet mob doing what they're doing is. And so this whole, well, usually it's going to come back down. Yeah, usually, but this time it really is different. I mean, this is not the typical stuff. Will it go back down? I mean, logic tells me that it will. If I were to place a bet that I didn't have to worry about many factors, I would say eventually it'll go down, but I wouldn't be willing to short it right now at all. I will wait until it starts going down before I start shorting it. wait for some type of confirmation. What it's going to do in the meantime is anybody's guess. If we were talking about this a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I would have really insightful things about the liquidity and how many people, where their orders are stuck and blah, blah, blah. You know, I have insights on these types of situations, but not in this particular case. This is an anomaly. You are, my best guess would be right in whatever direction things seem to be going. You know, this is being driven by pictures of you know, rockets and just funny memes. This is not being run by technical analysis. This is not, you know, it's a new thing. So you know, good luck with that. I guess if you're doing stock options, I'd say, you know, that's a gamble. If you're doing the straight up stocks, then, you know, then you can afford to wait how things play out. I wouldn't touch it.
How can a stock get shorted 100%?
Well, stocks can get shorted even more than 100%. Apparently, you can short it more than once. So wherever you shorted it to, can turn around and reshort it. Remember, you're selling a share to somebody, and so you've sold that share to that individual. That's a borrowed share, granted. So that individual can turn around and then lend it to somebody else too, right? Like, so you can recycle the shares, and that's why you got 100+ short flow. But it's not just because just because a stock is 100% short, it doesn't mean that all the shares are short. Like when you have 100% short flows, all the shares that they're available for being shorted. Not all shares can be shorted. I don't know how those rules come about, but let's suppose that you have 30% of your shares can be shorted. If you have 100% short float, that means that 30% of the overall outstanding shares are being shorted. But those shares can be recycled, so you can actually end up having some really cascading, ugly stuff.
Nice. All right, last question. Truly last question.
Yeah.
So intra-trading group, we tell all of them all the time, don't just follow something blindly. Learn how to do this for yourself. Understand what you're going into. Don't just follow the pack. You know, everyone's saying, oh, well, what do you recommend for tomorrow? What do you recommend for tomorrow? And I want to say that, I mean, I know Jaime pretty well, and I think that he would tell you that you guys should be, you know, should work hard and figure that out for yourself. Right?
Yeah. So here's the thing. It's like, so my Twitter's been slammed with people asking me what the next pump is gonna be. So you know, so what should I do tomorrow? As in, what's the next stock that's gonna get pumped? Like, sorry, I'm not gonna help you with that. For all the different reasons, but yeah, no, you're completely right. Like on any given day, it's, you know, I watched that what do you call it? That chess thing on Netflix that was fun, the Queen's Gambit. You know, I was like, you know, it's been a long time since I played chess. I want to start learning again. You know, I played when I was in high school and stuff, board on my phone, and I start kind of playing online and looking at some of these opens, and I have this parallel app that shows me, you know, okay, this is the King's Gambit, the Queen's Gambit, or whatever, Scottish. You know, and I find myself saying, all right, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and use this other app that's going to help me know which pieces to move the first 5-10 moves or so, and then I'll take over from there and I'll use my own brain, right? So what ended up happening is, you know, with the intention of trying to be a better chess player, what ended up happening is the more I use this other app, meaning the more I asked the app what to do next, the more ill-equipped I was, because then I didn't understand why the hell it would move that pawn in the corner or why it would do this thing. And next thing you know, I'm relying more, and then I found myself cheating straight up. I straight up opened up like a computer app so that I could have the computer play against the other guy because I was mad that I was losing. So at that point, I'm just kind of the middleman typing in the moves and just feeling artificially good about what I'm accomplishing. I can relate to that a little bit with these questions of what do I do next, or what do you think of this particular stock? Like what I then started to do is, all right, why the fuck did I move that first pawn to e4? What's the purpose of that? And what does it protect? And why did I move that knight next? And that once I start thinking these through, then I realize I don't really need to be told what the opening is, or what I should do, or even if what I'm doing is considered an opening. I realize that I'm empowered enough now that I'm able to do this on my own, and even better, I'm able to learn I'm better equipped to learn what to do in new situations that the computers haven't seen. So this is kind of a weird analogy, but it plays into this. You guys probably all here because you want to learn how to make money, and imagine the day where you can't ask somebody else what the winning trade is. Then you're left with nothing. You go from being the middle guy copying the computer chess moves to the real player and taking credit for it. Or you can figure it out, or you can learn about this. And there is a billion different strategies and a billion different approaches. My favorite thing was watching a guy that was a technical analysis trader go head to head with a news trader, meaning that he was like plugged into the wire and he would get breaking news really quickly, head to head with a quant. And all three of them live, real time, in the same chat room, would make opposing trades on the same concept, but with different thesis. So the news guy would say this is going to go down because this, and the other guy said it's going to go up because of support resistance, and the other guy said, the quant guy, no, the standard deviations is going to definitely mean revert. All of them said different things. All of them took different trades, and all three of them made money in front of me, to my incredible amazement, right? So it's like, how the hell can you were short and you were long, and you said because this and you said because that, and you guys all made money. The reason why they all made money is because they all understood their own strategy, right? It turns out the stocks don't just go up or down; they go up and down along the way, and they all understood where they sat with their strategy and how they were going to capitalize.
Nonsense. Stocks only go up.
That's funny. That's pretty funny. So it was cool to watch that, and the reason why they were able to do that, confidently, is because they understood the mechanics of what they're doing. They realized, all right, cool, yeah, the interest rate's going to go up, so all the people that were long have to first flush these things up before they can go short. Whatever. The guy has his idea and he did it, and then the other guy did too as well. And that's kind of where you guys want to get to the point where you have enough conviction of your ideas, where you can have opposing views. You ask somebody else, hey, do you think this is going to go up or down? Guess what? The answer doesn't matter, right? The answer doesn't matter, because whether it goes up or down, you can still make money with either direction. If the answer is just going to go both up and down, guess what? Like, only your strategy, only your understanding of these movements are going to dictate whether you make money. All these people right now that are looking at GameStop and like, look how much money they're making. Guess what? They're not all making money, right? Why? Because their execution can potentially suck, right? Like, they're buying, if they're doing options, they're picking the wrong ones, and they're not compensating for the thetas and the gammas and the or they're expiring worthless just in time, or they sold because they got nervous, and their execution sucks, and they're kicking themselves in the foot. Like, fuck, I should have just held on to that thing. I would have been a millionaire by now. All those people do exist, and the reason why they were having second thoughts is because they didn't have conviction and understanding of these trade setups, the risk mitigation, the targets, like all these components that nobody has. I guarantee you, is costing people money, even if they're long GameStop right now. As crazy as that sounds, it's my closing thoughts.
Nice. All right, David, dude, thank you so much. Go get some rest, man. I appreciate it. All right, dude, thank you so much.
You guys. Take care.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.